Hello and welcome to the IWF podcast with me, Ryan Iconic Shadows, and Kate Chaos. Hope you are okay and enjoy.
And here we go. This is going to be interesting. Um, Welcome to the IWF podcast, like the intro said. Today it's just myself, Ryan Iconic Shadows, and today we've got a nice little bit of a veteran when it comes to gaming and Power Rangers and just a mixture of all sorts, really. Introduce yourself, my friend.
Hello, everybody. My name is TravisGA, or as some of you may know me in Sin City Wrestling and IWF, Burnett Stone. Nice to be here.
Yeah, I remember when you first mentioned that you were interested in coming on. I thought I'd try and get you on when you weren't too busy, but then I remember you saying you're usually quite chill and you're not always too busy, so hopefully I just work around myself.
Yeah, the most quote unquote busy I get is just driving to and from the house to town because it's like 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, Jesus.
Yeah.
I'll try that again. Are you usually busy at work?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Are you usually busy at work? Like,
Not really. Actually, right now I'm between jobs.
all right.
Yeah.
What type of job do you do? Like, without you having to disclose anything particular, like what does it involve?
Well, so this is a little embarrassing to say. I've been jobless for about a year now because so what happened was I used to work at Prairie Playland in Grand Prairie, Texas.
That's a mouthful and a half.
Yeah. And essentially it was a small theme park located in a farmer's market. I would either run a ride, normally the bumper cars, or I would be selling the tickets and the wristbands so people could get on the rides.
All right.
The place is only open on the weekends, but what ended up happening was I had to move from Texas up to Missouri to be with my grandmother because she needs help. You know, she's 75.
Oh yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah. And because of that, I've been mainly jobless for a year. I've been trying to find a good, stable source of income.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not easy these days. I, I like it's one of those things where you want a job that's good, but you want it to not be overly stressful on your everyday life. Yeah, it's trying to balance it out.
Yeah.
So anything particular that you want to talk about yourself before we move forward? Anything that comes to mind?
Not not really. Maybe if something comes up, I'll try to make a detour into it.
Okay, so we'll start off with a question I pretty much ask everybody that comes in from e-fedding. What what is e-fedding to you? How long have you been e-fedding?
Oh boy. I'll answer it backwards. So how long have I been e-fedding? Since late 2015.
All right.
Early 2015, late 2014. And for me, e-fedding is all about storytelling. And it's
Yeah.
not just wrestling. I've been mainly doing wrestling story, or wrestling e-fedding, or e-fed wrestling, however you want to say it. But for me, it's all about a story. You know,
Oh
what
yeah.
story do you want to tell both in the game whether it's like a football, wrestling, a baseball, ice hockey, whatever, or in like a Discord server or via a video or text or voice. What kind of story do you want to tell? Either with, two teams, two wrestlers, two groups,
Yeah.
and then, try to find a way to make it all work.
Oh yeah, definitely. It's like find a way to enjoy it, but also like understanding what it is. So,
Yeah.
so
And
like what?
go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say like going back to the other part of it. What is it to you, and how would you describe it to somebody that doesn't know what it is?
So to me, e-fetting is creating a character, or I'm going to use wrestling because that's what I know the best. For me, it's creating a character or a pair of characters, and it's development, essentially.
Yeah.
It's looking at this character and saying, okay, here's point A. That is point B is where I want this character to end up. What is going to happen in between for that evolution?
Oh, that totally makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just building it up, sort of thing. Being able to tell a character's story.
Yeah. And in wrestling, if you're not booked, I say it's a good thing because it allows you to build more of the story in like a text or a vocal promo format instead of just being like, well, I didn't get booked. Guess I got nothing to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And at least for me, another thing is trying to separate you and the character. There has to be some sort of a hard line that it's just like, this is what I'm saying as a character to another character. This is what I'm saying as a normal, functioning human being behind this character to somebody else.
Yeah, because as you've probably seen in the Discords you've been in, sometimes people take it way too seriously, and then you get people that don't take it seriously enough.
Yeah, it's a fine tightrope razor's edge you have to kind of walk to where everything has its place.
Yeah.
And when I started, ironically, when I started e-fetting, the friend was literally just like, I'm going to help you make this character. And essentially this character is just you.
Yeah.
So they kind of wanted, they wanted me and my character to be one and the same. And I'm not saying you can't do that.
Yeah.
But for me, I find it best when this is the line between Travis and Burnett.
Yeah.
Obviously you're going to put yourself into the character, but then, that character is then going to start evolving and maybe removing some of the traits that you have in yourself or embracing other traits that you never really thought you could have, if that makes sense.
From what I've gathered from the time that I've done it, it's almost improving on your creativity skills.
Yep, it's all improv. This is all an improv performance. Because you don't exactly know 100% what the game is going to do.
Yeah.
And I think that's almost a bit better than trying to dictate what the game has to do. If you say, because I will always try to make a story that fits whether or not Burnett wins or loses. And then see where that story goes.
Yeah, I mean, it's always interesting how you portray your character from what I've seen, and never leave too much room for somebody to pick out, but at the same time, you're always being quite creative, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, well, Burnett, again, damn near a decade of doing all the stuff for Burnett, and then I try to leave wiggle room for improvement in every iteration, from the first one that was ever made in WWE 2K14 to the one that's now in WWE 2K24. That's a massive history that I have.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you need a history for your character.
But it does help.
Yeah. Try to make something believable. When it comes, and I know that Drake, aka Lazy, has talked about this on his episode. Don't watch that after you've watched this one. Ding! But if it's supposed to be more of a realistic character, try to make it sound realistic. Don't try to shove it, fists shove in. This is getting away from me. Don't try to force. That's what I'm looking for. Don't try to force stuff that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
It's not always. It's almost about perspective, and you always want it to make sense. How would somebody else perceive it that's reading it or watching it or listening to it or whatever form it's taking? How would they understand it if they're new completely to it?
Yeah. I tried to go with the KISS method. Keep simple stupid.
Yeah. What were you saying? Sorry.
When I'm writing a story, if I'm struggling to understand it, as the writer, I know I have to go back and try to simplify it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you can't do a complex story. I have been a part of, a stupid, simple story of, I want the title, you're not ready for the title, boom. And I've been in stories where it's essentially years, legitimately years between my character and someone else's, and they just constantly find themselves wrestling against each other.
Oh, right. How did that go?
The long rivalries. I say long rivalries, it's tricky because essentially you're talking about the same two people, minimum, constantly fighting each other. And the question sometimes can just be, how the hell do I make this interesting so it doesn't, it doesn't try to start running dry.
Yeah, understandable.
And personally, I say on and off. Find when it's a good time to have that rivalry on and take place. And then once it starts feeling a little stale, that's when you shut it off and you two start working with other people.
Yeah. I suppose part of the problem could be is availability, how often they want to take part, how much they want to take part.
Oh yeah. So in another EFED called National All-Star Wrestling, Burnett's kind of in this forever feud with Joey Fang. And excuse me, I will always say those matches got better with every iteration because Joey and my friend behind it named Blue Wolf, he made Joey better. I made Burnett Stone better, and it's the evolution, and I never want someone to feel like this is entirely one-sided. That, oh, I'm never gonna win this.
Yeah.
I always want it to feel like both sides have the chance to walk away as the victor, but I never want both sides to feel like if I lose this or if I win this, nothing's gonna happen.
Oh, definitely. It's like you don't know how to progress at times, but then it's like working together as much as you can to make sure it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And if you are in and if you do find yourself in a situation of, I don't feel like I'm gonna win this, maybe lean into that a little. Lean in and say, everyone's been telling me you have no way of winning this, but I don't give a damn.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna win this, I'm gonna fucking fight like hell has opened.
Oh yeah, definitely. Find that next step sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. And
so it's
all simple when you boil it down.
Yeah, I'd say in a roundabout way, anyone could get into it. It also it pulls some elements from when you're making a character in anything. You could say if it sort of in D&D as well, like when you're creating a character, what does that character do? How do they represent themselves?
Yeah.
Speaking of represent themselves, what makes Burnett Stone who he is?
So, what makes Burnett who he is basically, I always imagine he has a chip on his shoulder.
Yeah.
And no matter what, that chip is like, it's a different chip every time. Whether it's people saying that he's never gonna do something, that he's never gonna be something, or whether it's, this match, this entire thing, it's not about God. You know what? I can actually use Sin City Wrestling's latest pay-per-view to reach for the stars. Burnett, because previously Burnett lost a lot of matches. And so for Burnett, the chip on his shoulder became doubt. It became to him, he's doubting his abilities as someone who's signed to Sin City Wrestling. And for him, at Reach for the Stars, that match was essentially, to him, proving he belongs.
Yeah.
And no matter what, the chip never leaves, because the chip always has a different reason for being there.
I'd say it's also about how he feels as a person, how they feel as a person, how they display themselves. Because as you've said before, they don't always feel like they need to win a title to prove how they feel about themselves or how they represent themselves.
And I'm not saying I don't want Burnett in championship matches, but I feel like for me as a storyteller, it's easier to have Burnett be in a feud when a championship isn't in the picture.
Yeah.
And I don't try to make Burnett act like a jobber and, just never get a title win. But I try to make Burnett more into someone who he's proving to himself that the money he spent just going around and wrestling, the time he's put in, and just everything in his career has not been a waste.
Yeah. I mean, that's quite understandable. If you don't want the time you've put in, the time they put in to feel like a waste, you want what they've done to feel like it represents who they are as a person.
Yeah. And for me, success does not mean wins. It does not mean match ratings. It does not mean attendance figures. It does not mean championships. For me, and by extension Burnett, it just means a good match to him.
Yeah.
Wins and losses be damned. Am I satisfied with that match? Going back to Reach for the Stars, Burnett would say no, he's not satisfied with a count-out win.
But as a lot of people say, a win is a win.
Yes, a win is a win is a win, but for Burnett, disqualifications and countouts, to him, they feel wrong. They feel like the cheap option.
Yeah.
And he's always been a fighter.
I suppose you could compare it to somebody giving you money compared to you just earning the money.
Exactly. And it's of course this definition will change. My definition of success will change and evolve, and so will everyone else's. But at the end of the day, as long as I'm having fun as Burnett, I will always think of ways to improve him. I will always think of ways to, make him better or try to give him more flaws so that, there's something to sink, so someone can sink their teeth into.
Yeah.
Going back to the question of what makes Burnett who he is, combination of chip on the shoulder, experience, and just a natural evolution of 10 years ish.
So it's all like several things on top of each other in a way.
Oh yeah.
I thought of a few questions myself, especially this one. I'm sure you could talk for hours about this in particular. Favorite Power Rangers series?
Oh, okay. Are we just talking like Power Rangers, aka, and not Super Sentai?
The definition is entirely to you.
Okay, so since the question says Power Rangers, I'm not. This changes damn near every day. But okay. If you put a gun to my head and said, pick one Power Ranger series that is your favorite, I would have to say Lightspeed Rescue.
Yeah, why is that?
It is, as far as I know, it is the only Ranger series. It's the only Ranger series that doesn't have a secret identity, and it just feels. Most of the time, outside of Lightspeed Rescue and I believe SPD, The Rangers had their identities, even though, wait a minute, that guy's wearing a red shirt, that guy's wearing a blue shirt, that girl is wearing a yellow shirt. These are obviously the Power Rangers.
Yeah, I think that was more for younger people who were watching it. At least that's what I assumed it was. I was like, this seems way too obvious.
Also, it's like police officer, firefighter, medic. Like, you know, these are public identities. So it kind of made sense that, you know, oh, they're the Power Rangers. But specifically in Lightspeed Rescue, I like how, like, if something came up that the Rangers could not deal with, the people at the Aqua Base for Lightspeed Rescue, they created something to help.
Yeah.
So, oh, the monster just grew 10 freaking stories tall. Here are the Zords. Oh god, those Zords are down. Well, here's the Super Train. Oh no, Titanium Ranger. By the way, is an American creation. Here are the V-Lancers.
Yeah.
It's a constant evolution of essentially how do we get better.
Uh-huh.
And also, in my personal opinion, seeing the rescue train for me is just like, ooh, brr. just one of those things that's like, yes, I like it. Yeah.
I remember watching, I think it was Time Force when I was younger. I think that's what it's called. Or was it
did the helmets look like it had like different arrows?
Possibly. I honestly couldn't tell you. I used to watch it a lot.
Force.
I think it was there one called Jungle Force or Jungle something?
Wild Force and Jungle Fury, 2 separate seasons.
Yeah. I think around that time was when I was watching it quite a lot.
Yeah. So, like, right around the Disney seasons?
Yeah.
Also, just the motorcycle becoming the Red Ranger's battleizer.
Yeah.
That I liked it. Not to mention, Go-Go 5 isn't the Sentai that. So the Sentai behind Lightspeed Rescue is called Go-Go 5, and that Sentai isn't bad either. Yeah.
I think we just next for a moment
there. Yeah. Next question.
So yeah, I do apologize if I did disconnect. I took my internet stuff.
It's fine.
This is one from Carson actually. What is Burnett's biggest inspiration in becoming a wrestler?
Oh god. So for Burnett, it was indie wrestling.
Yeah.
It was going to indie shows and seeing what everyone was doing that made him want to become a wrestler. He grew up in Arlington, Texas, which has, I believe, it's in the metroplex of like Fort Worth and Dallas, in like northeastern Texas-ish.
Yeah.
And so either, various indie shows would come up to where he was and he would go to them, or he would go to those and just talking to the people either between matches or when he got the chance, just talking to people. That's what got him into wrestling. And then talking to the actual wrestlers is what made him want to become a wrestler. And that's why he joined so many places, because,
you know,
I'm a wrestler now. I want to fight the best.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's like you want to put on the best matches possible, with the best wrestlers possible.
Oh yeah. Hopefully that answers your question, sweetheart.
I'm sure you'll be able to find out what they think, and hopefully they listen to this episode throughout. But yeah, I'm sure you'll have a discussion about it.
Yeah.
So I've just seen another question that you might be interested in. Let me just save it. It's a bit of a long one for me to read. You probably can see it on the screen anyway. This is from Lazy.
Burnett is in charge of a PLE in which he has to make a 5-match card using all the cause he knows. What matches would he book? Okay. Yep. Good Lord, Lazy. Oh God. So, thankfully, this is both easy and hard because there's 10 years there's roughly 10 years, so that there's a lot for Burnett to pull from. So I'm just gonna go from opener to main event. The opening match would be a triple threat tornado tag team match featuring Jason Jones,
Yeah.
the Academy, which is Eric Newton and Chris Hero,
Yeah.
and I'm cheating a little because I don't remember the last team name. And the Lucha Dragons. And just one of those fun... Clearly, this is all just tag team champions. And, you know, just a big fun triple threat 6-person tag match, or 6-person triple threat tag match, however you want to say it. And essentially just see what these 3 teams can do against each other in this setting. No titles on the line, but, you know, bragging rights.
Yeah.
The second match would be... I would have to say Blaze Maximilian versus Joey Fang.
Oh, what makes you say that?
Because Burnett's been in the ring with both Blaze and Joey. So, knowing how good those two are against him, he would just be like, you know what? What happens if these two just get in the ring together and fight it out?
Could be interesting, especially with how long you've been a feud with Joey for.
Oh yeah. Let's see. The middle match would be... It would be Michigan's Pride, Carson Wildcat, and Jetta Larson taking on... Ooh. This is a hard one. Because it... Carson Wildcat and Jetta Larson would take on... I like this question because it's difficult.
That's probably why he used it as a question to ask.
Yeah. Congratulations, Lazy. I love your question. it would have to be Michigan's Pride, Jetta Larson, and Carson Wildcat taking on... Their name is escaping me. Spring Blossoms, which is Daisy Ortiz and Cassidy Miller.
Oh, right.
Yeah, just a fun traditional tag team match.
I mean, that sounds reasonable enough.
Yeah. Next up, let's get a bit of high octane. And a bit. Do I want to make? I want to make the main event a hardcore match or no? The semi-main is Jameson Jensen, Jackson Connor, the Night Mask, Jean-Paul Drake, and actually no. I might do that for the main. Semi-main is going to be Josie Taylor.
Yeah.
You can tell I'm prepared for this. Ismira Maximilian.
Yeah.
Violet, who is a friend of mine's, Ka.
Yeah.
Let's see. Josie Taylor, Ismira, Violet, and you'd think I have an answer for this, but I don't. And I hate that I can't answer this. Selena Bischoff.
I was going to say, this is the most stumped
Fatal.
Someone's been on a question in a while.
Yeah. Well, like, booking a 5-match card, it sounds easy on paper, but then when you actually start getting into the bits and bolts. But Fatal 4-Way between those 4 women. Elimination, because it's always fun to see one person left standing.
Yeah.
And for the main event, it would be Jesse Wolf. Actually, let's just make it a War Games match with the Switchblade Saviors taking on actually, do I want to do? No, I feel like War Games is too easy of a pop. But main event, it's going to be a singles match. We're going to do Jesse Wolf, accompanied by his wonderful wife. Sorry, Jesse, I forgot her name. Taking on... Who do I think would be a good... Out of all the cause I know, who would be a good... Out of everyone Burnett would know, who would be a good fight for him. Let's... Jesse Wolf versus... versus Chris Quartz for the National All-Star Wrestling United States Championship.
Oh, right.
And fuck it, let's just make it a hardcore match. I mean, why not?
Hey, you got there eventually.
Yeah. By the way, I know that like everyone I named has like some sort of championship. There is only one on the line in the main event. Because I don't think that, I'm trying to imagine it that, like, Sin City Wrestling would say you can use our people, but you can't have our titles on the line.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of places would say. However, because Burnett's such good friends with the people who run National All-Star Wrestling, NAW, they would say, okay, yeah, you can have one of our titles on the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can semi-relax now. You got that question out of the way.
Yeah.
So here's a bit of a more of a comforting question. What sort of food is your favourite? Like, and this is like an open question. So like anything and everything. Like what food puts you in a good mood? What sort of desserts put you in a good mood? Pepperoni pizza is always a good one, to be fair.
So if it's just like, lunch or dinner, pepperoni pizza. I'm just a basic bitch. I like what I like. When it comes to desserts or candies or something like that, either mint chocolate chip ice cream or a slice of like Oreo cream pie.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But if it's something for me to just snack on, I'm gonna get so much flack for this. Pretzels.
To be fair, I don't mind pretzels. I don't really have them very often, especially at these ones. I think they had peanut butter in or something.
Oh yeah, the peanut butter filled pretzels are one of my favorites.
Oh, definitely. I think, especially when it comes to the divide between the UK and USA, I feel like one of the things people don't have enough, what people do have in America over here, is probably peanut butter. Like, I feel like it could be used in so many different ways.
Yeah, like peanut butter. Despite how simple peanut butter seems, there's a lot you can do with it. People have actually made entire loaves of bread with peanut butter. Not as the only ingredient, but it replaces. I believe it replaces the butter and the sugar.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It sort of relates to that question I put in the Discord server, where it was like, what's your ideal starter, main, and dessert?
Yeah. American style biscuits.
Yeah.
Chicken fried steak. Oreo pie. Like, that is my starter, main, dessert.
It's always nice when you can get something like that where it's not too expensive either. Like, you can have a good day out and then just enjoy it.
Yeah. And sometimes it's just where you look.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So before I ask the next question, I obviously might say this a few times during the episode, but what sort of questions would you like to ask me?
Where did the name and design of Ryan Shade come from?
Well, a lot of it, I know sometimes early on you said you shouldn't base it on yourself, but in a way I did base it on myself. What would I want to look like if I was a wrestler? That's the sort of idea I went with. I wanted it to be creative. I wanted it to be the sort of face, because the idea of him being a face, like, at first I didn't know if he was going to be a face or not, but it worked. And the whole idea of, like, what Blaze said, where it was like, people would want to, like, paint themselves similar to him, to sort of, like, pretend that they're being like him, to be, like, there with him. Sort of, like, works. I know a lot of people don't like the idea of the character of Ryan Shade wearing face paint, but I feel like that's part of his identity now in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I feel like something like dramatic would have to happen if the character stops wearing face paint altogether.
Yeah.
So otherwise people will be like, well, why is he not wearing it anymore?
Yeah. Why iconic? Why
Well,
iconic Ryan Shade? Or the icon Ryan Shade?
I mean, I know it sounds cheesy, but one of my favorite wrestlers for the longest time were HBK and Sting, and that was also their nickname that they went by a lot.
Yeah.
And I felt like the character of Ryan Shade wants to embody something that's more than him, and then wants to embody that. And I felt like working that into his character, where that was a nickname that people in Japan gave him, made it so just because I called him that means that he wants to earn that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah, that's honestly those are the only two questions I had.
Okay. What sort of films come to mind when you just want to chill and watch a film, even if it's one you watched before?
So it depends on my mood. Sometimes if I want to just relax and if I just want to watch a popcorn flick, I'll tend to go for something with a lot of action.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't really go for a lot. I don't really watch a lot of films. One of my favorites is called Shin Kamen Rider.
Yeah.
And it takes the original series of Kamen Rider, like the one that's all the way back in the 1970s. It takes the first like 50-ish episodes and condenses it down to a really good 2.5-hour movie.
So what's the story of it?
So it's the main character. I forget his name. This is embarrassing because normally I can say it off the top of my head, but I can't. But the main character, he was kidnapped and experimented on. He was turned into sort of a hybrid, like cyborg-ish, where he oh god, I'm struggling right now. And this is supposed to be one of my favorite movies that I actually did see in theaters. So he's experimented on, and he's given grasshopper DNA, which augmentations, that's the word I was thinking of, which gives him various augmentations. And the movie essentially just starts with a motorcycle chase. Yeah. And he works with kind of an organization that's against the Hopper program.
Okay.
And throughout the movie, he transforms Henshin into Kamen Rider, which literally is named, which translated from Japanese to English is just Masked Rider. Yeah. If you love a bloody action movie from Japan, I recommend it. Especially when they use modern editing and CGI and stuff like that to recreate certain scenes from the original 1970s version.
Yeah.
But if I want to scare myself, one of the ones I tend to lean towards is let me see if I can. I know there's a YouTube video about it. God. Wait a minute. Okay, so sorry, this is amazing. Fucking content.
Yeah, put you on the spot, and now you put yourself on the spot.
Yeah. So if I want to scare myself with a movie, I will watch As the Gods Will, which basically takes, surprise, surprise, Japanese high school students. I know this already sounds horrible. And essentially, ironically, in the manga, it's way worse. They go through death games because that's one of the things that Japan does. They just put innocent people through death games. And it's the first game is red light, green light with a Daruma doll. And if you're caught moving by Daruma doll, your head will explode into red marbles.
I mean, that particular sounds like something that they had on Squid Games. I haven't really watched much of it myself, but it sounds familiar.
It's so weird. I recommend you try and find it and watch it. Because the next game is you're supposed to take this giant bell. The next game, some students are put into mouse costumes, and a giant cat comes from the floor, and you're supposed to take this bell and dunk it into a hoop, or just put it through a hoop on the cat's collar.
Oh.
Yeah! And the cat will go after whoever's wearing the full mouse costume. The next game, it has 4 of these wooden doll whatevers. And they circle around you singing, and you have to guess which one's behind you, blindfolded. And the final one is hide and seek / kick the can, where one person has to find everybody else, look at their face, see their face, and say their name to capture them. And then, in order to let anyone who's been caught out, you have to kick a can, which may or may not be a bomb. Japan and like all those Western countries when it comes to horror is so creative.
It's like it slightly reminds me of the vibe of what's it called, like The Cube or something.
Ironically, I would rather go through the gods as the gods will than The Cube.
I've heard it's quite violent on there as well.
The Cube is very violent and I would say interesting because a lot of horror is just what if.
Yeah. I can only imagine what your answer to this will be, but do you have any favorite animes?
I mean, I could go with the basic bitch answer and say Yu-Gi-Oh! But
then I'd be like, okay, which season?
Yeah. I would have to say Danganronpa. Both the first anime and then the Goodbye Despair future / despair arcs.
I won't lie, I thought it was just a video game.
I mean, it's a video game. It's also a manga.
That's interesting. I think the connection has dropped again.
Enemy, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
End of Hope Speak Academy is kind of a weird watch because you have to watch the future arc, then the despair arc, and it's and then it's future despair, future despair, future despair.
Okay.
The future arc has to deal with the killing game in the Future Foundation base, and the despair arc is kind of a prequel to the events of Danganronpa as a whole.
Okay.
Yeah. And it follows the same students you follow, the same students from Danganronpa 2.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Huh. Gotta be honest, it's one of those that I've never really looked into too much, but it seems quite interesting from what I've seen in passing.
Yeah. Excuse me. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite season of Yu-Gi-Oh?
Oh. I tend to lean more towards GX. Like both the dub and the sub.
Yeah, I heard the sub got an extra season, I think.
Yeah, because what English-speaking countries would see is everybody leaving the extra Dual Monsters Dimension. I forget what it was actually called, but I'm just going to call it the Dual Monsters Dimension because that's what it was. The Dual Monsters Dimension, and then it's like, where's Jaden? I don't know. And then season 4, I believe, starts with Jaden coming back to Dual Academy after God knows how long.
All right.
And his and Yubel's soul have merged into one.
Yeah.
Oh boy, that duel right before that second to last duel before we see the Jaden Yugi duel. Oh dear lord.
Yeah, it's almost like who actually won, who like. I feel like they wouldn't want to give an answer to
that. Between Jaden and Yugi, yeah, I feel like we were supposed to get that answer in the canceled Yu-Gi-Oh! GX movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I kind of like that they kept it ambiguous.
I didn't even know there was one. Like when I was younger, somebody was like, "Oh, I bet you really like the animated Sonic movie." I was like, "Dude, I didn't even know there was one."
Yeah. I will say though, in Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, my favorite character is Cyrus, even though his deck is just not that good.
Yeah, he was always one of my favorite characters too.
Yeah.
Like, I just like the dynamics of it. He was like one of the only characters that actually went up in the academy.
Yeah, he's literally just the only one who, like, his deck was trash. It's still trash, but just like he just grew in confidence, and I love it.
Yeah, because you actually see him go through each dorm. I think it is.
Yeah,
it's like
red, Slifer, Raw, Obelisk.
Yeah.
You do realize why Slifer Red is the bottom barrel dorm, right?
Vaguely, but go ahead.
It's because Seto Kaiba cannot let go of his grudge against Yugi.
That does make sense.
Yeah.
Because in law, isn't it that he owns the academy or bought it or something?
Yeah. And then fucking Obelisk is the best, Slifer's the worst.
Yeah.
It's just one big middle finger to Yugi.
Jesus Christ.
Kaiba is a petty bitch until the end.
Oh, it's always good to chat with people that have got similar interests, and you can just keep on going. I know I keep going quiet, but I'm all wanting to get your thoughts on things.
Oh yeah. Let's go on to the next question.
The next question is, I ain't got a headline for it, I'm more just thinking off the top of my head. What would you say are the sort of things that you look for when you think of, oh, what sort of hobby would you recommend to somebody yourself, even if it's not one you do? Like, what sort of thing would you say to somebody? Oh, this is why you should try this. Like, what sort of approach would you give somebody?
If someone asked me to recommend a hobby, I would say, and this is this is something I just got into, candle making.
Oh, right.
And yeah, because it's simple, really, because you melt down the wax, paraffin or beeswax, and you can add like various wax-based dyes. Food coloring is not going to work, because especially the liquid, because that's not going. It's like oil and water. It's just not going to mix.
Yeah.
And if, let's say, you had essential oils and whatever you're using to diffuse the essential oils into the air broke, you can use the essential oils into the melted wax. And as long as you get it above as long as it's above 160 degrees Fahrenheit,
Yeah.
which is, what is that in centigrade?
In Celsius,
Yeah, Celsius.
Sure, on the top of my head, to be honest.
Sure. 71 degrees Celsius.
Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah. It should, when you pour it into whatever container you have with the wick that's stuck down to the bottom, and just let it cool. Cut off any extra wick, and then light it. It's good. Really, the expensive part is just getting the big 10-pound bags of wax.
Yeah, it certainly seems expensive, but from what you're saying,
Yeah.
like it's one of those hobbies that you really need to get into. Like, it's
Yeah.
not something I definitely wouldn't recommend to somebody. It's certainly very it's very tactful, I suppose you could say the word is. Like it's one of the things that you could spend a lot of time on, whilst happily enjoying it at the same time.
Yeah, and what's great about candle making is that if you had candles in your home and like all that wax is gone, you can just pop out the thing that's holding the wick, put in a new wick, pour in fresh wax, and you can, like, the containers are like infinitely reusable, and you can get them for like $1 at the dollar store if you know what you're looking for. Just ceramic or glass, nothing plastic.
What sort of, be it old or new, what sort of video games do you all go to?
For me, I like stuff that either forces me to be patient, like your Dishonors, or Metal Gear Solid, or Tom Clancy. Just games that require you to be patient and wait and look. Game like Stubbs the Zombie, just something fun and like out of this world.
Like really puts you into the game sort of thing.
Yeah. Let's see. Third or first person shooters.
Have you played much of Borderlands?
I love it. I love that series. I always go for, in Borderlands specifically, I always go for the characters that have like the turret or the Beastmaster in Borderlands 3, so that while I'm playing the game, I don't it's like, here's another target, da 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 da. And also, since I tend to play single player, it just gives another, it takes pressure off of me. And
Yeah.
site cover.
Have you ever played any Power Ranger video games?
I used to have this one plug and play. Like, you plug in the two things into the TV and you play it.
Yeah.
And it was of Power Rangers SPD. It was like a side scroller beat 'em up. And it was 5 specific monsters that somehow escaped containment. So it would start as one of the 5 core rangers would start, run, fight the mooks. If you got enough power cores or whatever they were called, you would transform into SWAT mode.
Okay.
And then, you could just crouch and, fire the gun. And then if you got more of those power cores, you could transform into the Red Ranger's Battleizer mode, which is just insanely broken. Then it would be a vehicle section.
Uh-huh.
Then it would go into another side scroller section where you fight the monster again. Then I believe it's another vehicle. No. Side scroller vehicle part 2, side scroller, Zord, Megazord. That's like, for everybody, that's how the game would go. And you could not use the individual rangers like civilian powers. Because in Deca Ranger, the Sentai for SPD, they didn't have special powers.
Huh.
Yeah. What other Power Rangers games have I played? I tried Fight for the Grid? It was like this fuck me. I don't know how to describe it, but it was essentially a Power Rangers fighting game where you pick 3 characters, good or evil, and they fight other characters. It's based off of Shattered Grid, the comic story.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then me and a handful of friends have been playing the board game Heroes of the Grid, which basically you get 5 rangers. They don't have to be from the same team, thank God. And you fight 2 mooks, a boss, and then the final boss.
Jesus.
Yeah. And we have quickly found out that it is extremely easy to just hyper focus on where the boss is and not care about, because if you're just playing it normally, quote unquote, there's 4 areas in a circle and then the middle is the base.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So you would go deployment would be, the mooks and, whatever big monster comes out, and then the team has to go to one of the 4 locations to fight. If you get a certain amount of mooks, you unlock one of the 5 Zords for your rangers. If you defeat one of the 2 bosses, you will automatically unlock a Zord.
Huh.
And it's one of those games that I love playing, but it's also infuriating because it relies on dice.
Oh.
So it's either miss, it's either blank, 1 hit, 2 hit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can imagine how infuriating it gets when you have the boss down to or a mook or whatever, down to essentially a knee, 1 health, and you're just out of these. Hello?
Hello?
out of like these 3 dice, I just need 1 hit. I'll blink.
I was going to say, I think the connection dropped for a second there.
Yeah.
So is that the usual strategy then?
The usual strategy is just praying.
I mean, it takes me back to the few times I played D&D with my old housemate. Like, a lot of the time he'd be so unlucky and like roll really low, and like the story that would come from that would be like, yeah, nothing happened.
Yeah. But yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if you've noticed, but we've been chatting for over an hour.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
This is probably going to be the longest episode.
That's bloody crazy. Going back to Power Rangers again, though, I haven't read it, but I actually have a Power Rangers graphic novel where it's Power Rangers and Godzilla.
Oh yeah, I've heard about that crossover. I like it. Honestly, I'm surprised Super Sentai hasn't done that first.
Yeah, it just seemed like something they would have already done.
It just seems like a natural thing to have like Godzilla team up with freaking Super Sentai or whatever.
Oh, definitely. Seems like something that you'd think, oh, how have they not done this?
Yeah. They're owned by the same company, I believe. Like Toei.
I think that's probably right.
Yeah. I could be wrong. I know Ultraman has teamed up with Godzilla and those monsters.
Yeah.
But I don't Super Sentai's never done that. Which is super weird.
What's your opinion on Dragon Ball GT?
It's fine. It on its own, it's harmless.
I know a lot of people take it to heart and they're like, oh no, it's non-canon, so why waste your time?
I mean, you consider it canon or non-canon, whatever you want. It's a fun what if it's non-canon.
Yeah. It certainly divides people.
I think it gives a better story for the Dragon Balls themselves. Like, it expands on their lore.
Oh, definitely. It's like, you get like the aspect of how things progress. I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's very comparable to the original series in some ways, and then the fact that this isn't canon now, and this is canon, and all this, like, if it's enjoyable, does it really matter?
Yeah, if you're having fun watching it, who cares about canonicity?
Yeah. I mean, I think we're new to the end, but it's nice of this episode. It's nice to sometimes have a few breaks in when we're talking, maybe because we can just think of what we're wanting to say next. And I know sometimes people are like, oh, you don't want dead air, you don't want too much space in between saying stuff. But I think sometimes that adds to the nature of the conversation. You don't want it to feel rushed.
It feels more natural.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, I don't know if I should be afraid of like any of like what people could be asking me outside of Carson.
If there's anything that we've missed, maybe you could just reply in a message or get them to say, maybe it'll be saved for a next episode or something.
Yeah. I mean, from the private chat, I know I'm pulling back the curtain. I know there's 2 questions, so I'm going to answer those,
Sounds
I guess,
good.
to finish it off.
Which one first, though?
Let's go with the top one first.
If you had one, or I think this I'm reading it right, I've copied it straight from how they wrote it. if you had one, who or what gave you the inspiration to call your lyric finisher "One Wing and a Prayer"?
So it's partially a catchphrase. One wing and a prayer. As long as I have one wing and a prayer, I will still be able to fight.
Okay.
You know, and that is Burnett's finisher. You know, the Ripcord Lariat.
Yeah.
And where it came from was a song called "Angel with a Shotgun," which was his first ever theme. And I had gotten into Nightcore at that time, and the image for the Nightcore version of Angel with a Shotgun is literally just a Japanese, I want to say a Japanese female teenager with one wing with holes in it off to one side. So, and to me, one wing, okay. But then, oh, so you're just going to name the one-winged angel. I wanted to avoid that.
Yeah.
So for me, I was listening to the song, and then I was like, I'll throw away my faith, babe, just to make you safe. And then, you know, from that, I was like, one wing, one wing, one wing. Your faith partially comes from prayers. One wing and a prayer.
Yeah, it seems quite natural.
Yeah. And yeah. Also it just kind of fit with how it looks.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
I know this is a question that they ask most of the time, and it seems quite fitting for this to end it off. What drives the inspiration behind Burnett's appearance in the tie-ins? Would you ever consider allowing somebody else to make a tie for him?
So the inspiration, I don't really go with an inspiration. I just kind of go with what I think looks good. Because I've been building an attire for Burnett sometimes, and I pick something and then I see something else. It doesn't quite work. And then I go, okay, what can I put in? Like, what kind of top can I put as an entrant for the entrance to make this work? And then somehow everything I pick just ends up. It's one of those things. It's magical where it just ends up working in the end. You know?
Yeah, I see.
By accident.
Sort of, if it aesthetically works, visually works, then it just works. It just works.
It just works. But what I consider someone to try and make some attires for him, of course. And I'm gonna hazard a guess that this is an Essie question.
Yeah, I was going to lead to that. I'm assuming you know it's from Lisa/Essie.
Yeah, I mean, I know Essie's work. She does great attires, and if she ever wants to take a crack at making a attire for Burnett, this is Essie's forever yes. So Lisa, if you're watching and you want to do it, this is your open invitation. And yes, you don't need to ask.
But it's always nice to be asked.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, I think that's roughly where we'll end off. Anything else that you could think that you want to ask me? Anything that you want to plug? Any sort of social medias? Tell it to you.
Yeah, screw it. I have some stuff I can plug. You can find me anywhere online as TravisGA. TravisGA. Let's see what else. I am the co-commentator for the Maverick Wrestling League. which you can find, and I'll also get Ryan a link to the YouTube channel. But it's... You'd think I have this prepared. I don't. It is the Maverick Wrestling League YouTube channel that plays it. Or that hosts it. I'll try to see if I can find the Twitch. Let's see, what else? You can find Burnett Stone on Sin City Wrestling, Iconic Wrestling Federation, MWL, or Maverick Wrestling League, and hopefully a friend of mine is going to get his eFed back off the ground again, called Flyover State Fights.
That's a lot of eFeds.
Yeah. And that's it for the most part.
Like I say, before it's fully uploaded, you can send me some links and I'll get them into the description or something.
Yeah. But outside of that, not much. Not much else I can think to hook or throw out there into the ether, or whatever you want to call it.
But yeah, I think that's a comfortable place to end the episode on. So I've been your main host, because Kane's been a bit busy recently, especially with work, I believe. Rhino Colic Shadows, here with Burnett Stone.
Later, peeps.
And you may or may not see from them later on in some more episodes. It depends on how busy they are and if we can get their good friend on with us, because he was a bit busy, so he couldn't join us this time around. But hopefully we can get Neil on another time.
Yep. Hopefully we can get Ariel Rush on the show.
Fingers crossed. But yeah, we'll see you all later, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and give us any feedback where possible. See you later, guys.
Later.